You might have heard me use the phrase before. We will often describe the spotters who will go with Gareth as head of delegation as cultural interpreters. And by that, we'll mean that we'll be saying to the local police often, this isn't a problem. They might be noisy, they might be loud, clearly they may have a drink or two, but we will be often trying to calm people down and say this is not a problem. This is not a precursor to disorder, they are just having a good time and enjoying themselves. Equally, we can relay that to the fans, and that's why it's important that we're hooked in with Thomas, his team and others to get the message out to the fans to say this might be acceptable in the UK, but you're now starting to cause a bit of offence. Let's head off trouble and not let it escalate. I think a lot of fans were looking forward to this tournament based on the previous ones being in Qatar and Russia, very different environments to what the fans will often travel in. Obviously the States, Canada and to some degree Mexico, certainly the first two, speak English, you haven't got the language barrier, more of a Western approach to things. But I'm sure, as you're aware, and Thomas will probably reference, I think some of the pricing issues are taking some of the shine off that expectation. You'll be aware that for tournaments we always send head of delegation and spotters, dedicated football officers, operational football officers who you'll be very familiar with, who will often be seen in the pale blue bibs. This isn't a criticism, it's a statement of fact, but the number of officers we send is generally dependent on the request of the hosts, and that will vary significantly. So in Germany we had 40 officers out there working with the federal and state police. The deal being in effect that the host, you get your officers out there and then the hosts accommodate them, give them travel, meals, etc. And that's the basic arrangement for every tournament. This one, a different system in the States. The States aren't funding mobile travel delegations this time, so there'll be Gareth supported by 2 football officers, which is a significant change to what we would normally deploy, but that's because we've got to fund it in its entirety. And you can imagine the cost for fans are quite high, equally the high for us, so we're having to fund that, so that's limiting the number of officers we can get out there, which is why it's particularly important that we link in with the fans groups so we can get messages out and get feedback from them, and also the Foreign Office, so that we can kind of collectively extend our reach in support of the fans. Clearly with 18,000 law enforcement agencies, there's going to be a wide spectrum of people who are used to dealing with supporters, some who are not used to dealing with supporters. We've kind of stressed to everyone that football isn't the same as Super Bowl or baseball, it's a different thing. So we would have liked more people to be able to do that role, but I think the behaviour of our supporters reduces the threat. I think the fact that there's English speaking, again, when the language is the same, it minimises the potential for misunderstandings. So I'm not anticipating problems, but clearly we'd rather have a presence there that can get involved if we are seeing issues develop. So look, I'm not scare story, we would like more, but I think we can expect the supporters to behave pretty very well. If there's more there, we could try and reduce the risk and make it a bit easier for everyone, but it is what it is, and we'll clearly do the best we can with the resources we're deploying. Well, look, the cost is prohibitive. We can't. It's not an option. We've not got to that discussion. We've really not got to that discussion.
In terms of the
welcome. So there's been no negativity from that perspective. And I think, again, White House Task Force have been advocates of police forces. They've said the English are offering this, we recommend you accept it. So there's no hostility to deployment. They're just taking the view that they don't want to finance the mobile teams.